Welcome to Good Game, your no BS insights for crypto founders.
The consensus view right now is the fact that next year is going to be a mega bullish year for crypto. That's the consensus view.
I agree with the consensus.
Okay. And when I say consensus, I think it's mostly shitcoiners.
No, but that's what I see on my timeline as well.
Looking for your next startup idea in crypto? Check out our request for startups list and get inspired at alliance.xyz/ideas.
Or we're back.
Man, I don't know, because you go on Twitter and it's like, it's like mass shilling of shitcoineries everywhere, dude.
My Twitter feed today is Murad getting doxxed. The entire feed. It's
insane. Like, well, it's pretty crazy. In 4 months, he went from, I don't know, like a couple $100,000 to $27 million in AUM.
What coins does he own?
He owns. I have his portfolio saved now.
Because you can't do it with just PopCat, right?
No, he didn't get early on PopCat.
You have to do
he made his killing on SPX 6900.
Yeah, that one went like 100x in like 2 months.
And he did Giga, but he was early in Giga, which did like $1 million or something. Wow, his net worth is now at 30 million. It's funny. Once he got doxxed, the price of SPX went up like another 20%. Or like 15%. It was insane. And a part of the reason why it went up was the fact that now that he's doxxed, people could track his wallet and he can't sell it. And people said it. And so people are actively watching his wallet. So yeah, he has 20 mil in SPX. He has 3.5 mil in Giga, 2.5 mil in everything, $1 million in Retardio, and 750K in PopCat.
But it hasn't been confirmed by him, right?
It's confirmed by Zach, which is, pretty good.
But how does he?
So he did pull up a tweet. Zach pulled up. If you go through a tweet thread, Murad said, "I've acquired 2.5% or 2.5% of SPX."
Mm-hmm.
So he used that tweet and worked backwards.
Mm. Yeah.
So like Murad was pretty open about being public about what he holds. So I don't know if there was when you shared that very detailed information, there's only 1 or 2 holders that hold that much.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if he was like really trying to hide it or keep it public, but it did bring renewed confidence in the coins that he holds.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I was thinking last night? Murad is applying the exact same tactic that he used back in 2018.
Yes.
With Bitcoin, now with meme coins.
Yes.
The exact same tactic. One, an extremely high target price. Like back then, he was like Bitcoin going to $1 million. Back then when Bitcoin was like 3,000.
Yes.
And now Giga and whatever PopCat to like 100 billion. So that's one, like extremely high price target. Number 2, extremely well articulated thesis and story. A story that makes you go emotional, right? Like, did you see his talk in 2049? That one was one of the best talks I've ever seen. Like, whether or not you agree with it, it incited strong emotions in people.
Especially when he compared the market structure of VC coins, right? Like you have, and it goes down like 10 layers of how these coins get distributed. And at the end, it goes, retail gets dumped on. And that's the feeling that he wants to incite, right? With people that are watching his video.
I didn't realize how good of a speaker he was. That was the first time I saw him or listened to him speak.
No, I've heard him speak.
And then number 3, he's laser focused on one asset or asset class, and everything else is garbage. So back in 2017, he was a Bitcoin maxi. Everything else was garbage, and now meme coin is the shit. Everything else is garbage.
Do you remember his tweet that went viral back in 2018, where he got like, I don't know, a couple thousand likes? He pulled like Yuval's book, where he talked about the creation of mankind, and then like. And there was this picture or infographic of like the history of money, and like he talked about how people used to barter, right? And then every like century, that system changes. And so he pulled out the Yuval thesis, and then he pulled out the history of money, and then he created this like elaborate like historical tweet. And with the infographic, it showed like, USD was the last century's kind of like medium of exchange, and then how Bitcoin was going to be the next like. And man, I just remember reading that, and this was 20. I was still like,
You were dumb and young.
I was a semi Bitcoin maxi. I wasn't fully maxi, but like I was obviously fucking around with Ethereum and ICOs and stuff. But it made me mega bullish on Bitcoin.
Bitcoin maximalist.
Yes,
that was how I used to call myself.
Yes. It's funny. Like when I used to see like this shitcoins on Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would like fuck these guys. But then I would have do you remember the app that we used to use? There was only one coin tracker app back in the day. I think it was called Coin Tracker or something. Do you remember that app? Or Coin App? I forgot what it's called, but it was the only portfolio app that you could use at the time.
Blockfolio.
No, before Blockfolio. This was 2014 time frame, 2014 to 2017.
Wasn't
it's
that
called like Coin Tracker or Coin App or something like that?
Okay.
But I used to like I would have Bitcoin, I would have Ethereum, and then I would have all the shitcoins just to watch them so that I would not have to cope, thinking that I wouldn't have to cope. And then I coped the entire time watching the list. And then I think that was what changed me into shitcoinery in 2016.
Yeah. Anyway, what excites you?
Yeah. So yeah, he's using the same logic for sure. And I don't think the people, it's a double-edged sword. Okay, so, if you know the history of Murad, obviously Murad was mega bullish, but it happened. I think it's the wrong speculative vehicle. Like using perps is obviously very dangerous. And the market timing wasn't just right. And so he ended up being blown out of the trade, right?
He shorted Bitcoin. He was the biggest Bitcoin maxi of all time, and he shorted Bitcoin at the bottom.
And so now, like, obviously he blew up. I wonder how many other people that were trading perps blew up, but it was an interesting dynamic to note, right? Now he's back with crypto and tokens, which I think is a much easier vehicle versus perps. So yeah, we'll have to see where it goes.
And you can't short.
It's
very hard to short.
Yeah. So I think the vehicle is much better. And, meme coins are musical chairs, right? So we'll have to see how this will end up. But typically, it doesn't always end up that great.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how this ends up. So I think that brings us to where we are in the market. Where are we in the market? You just recently tweeted that you're bullish. In China specifically, there was a liquidity event, right? So they're buying up stocks from what I remember, and they're trying to like bring more liquidity into the markets and bring the prices up. We've had just recently a 50 bips cut, potentially another one in the coming months. So how does this, like where we are right now with the election at 30 days away, roughly? Are you registered to vote?
Yeah.
I registered to vote.
I'm voting next week.
All right. Yeah. And those that are listening, vote.
Your vote doesn't matter, Imran.
I know it doesn't.
Illinois.
I know. I'm already in the blue, but
I could be the deciding vote this time.
Yeah. But I would still go out and vote.
Yeah.
But okay, so we have the elections 30 days away, and then I want to talk about Trump Kamala in a bit. But how does this set us up for people? Are like the consensus view right now is the fact that next year is going to be a mega bullish year for crypto. That's the consensus view.
I agree with the consensus.
Okay. And in consensus, my consensus view, when I say consensus, I think it's mostly shitcoiners. But
that's what I see on my timeline as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna 70 IQ this. They're starting to ease. There's no recession. The chart is starting to look better. We just saw a higher high. And the sentiment is not euphoric. It's pretty neutral. My 70 IQ view is it's very bullish. I don't think you want to overthink this.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then how do you play the next year? Well, if the goal is to maximize wealth, I think you want to channel your inner 70 IQ, your inner left curver, until things become really, really euphoric. By that specifically, I mean like the more stupid a coin is, the more you want to buy it.
The more you laugh, the more you buy.
Yeah, I was actually talking about Tao last night with a few ex-colleagues from Masari. Bittensor. Bittensor is super controversial, polarizing. There's half of the people think it's the future of AI, and the other half think it's beyond stupid. And gun to my head, I'm in the in the latter camp.
Yeah.
But I'm max long for that precise reason, because it's so controversial. It'll bring all the attention, and the community is basically a cult. I think I'm very happy with my bag. I'm just giving you an example of how to play the next year or so, assuming we're gonna go up.
Now, let's say that, and I want to talk more about like our bags and like what we bought, what we haven't bought, why, and things of that nature. But that's how we see the market. Now, there are some critical points to this that we need to think about. One of which is like Trump is obviously very bullish for the markets, at least in the short term. We don't know what's going to happen long term. And then Kamala obviously has pivoted semi pivoted from not even mentioning digital assets and crypto to mentioning digital assets and now something to do with crypto and AI. And so it seems like she's taking more of a open stance now in crypto versus not talking about it at all.
By the way, that was bullshit. She didn't mention crypto at all. She mentioned digital assets.
Assets, okay.
Blockchain. Didn't mention crypto at all.
Yeah.
Blockchain could easily mean enterprise blockchain, and digital assets could easily mean CBDC. She hasn't pivoted at all.
Okay, so this is exactly my point. This is the perception she wants to create, or like her camp wants to create, that she is supportive of crypto. But really, if you read between the lines, she isn't very supportive of crypto. And if that's the case, and if she gets elected and say, the inside word that I've heard from every legal opinion so far, it's not public yet, but Gary Gensler is on his way out no matter if Kamala or Trump takes over. Mm-hmm. His reputation has been torched pretty much. And this is coming from people that are very close to this, which I thought was very interesting. So let's just say we get somebody else that might be a bit better than Gary, and then Kamala takes over. What would that mean for the markets?
There's still Chopon 2.0. Chopon 2.0. Which
happened? Yeah, go ahead.
Which actually gotten worse recently, which makes it effectively harder and harder for crypto companies, startups especially, to open a bank account in the US. But regardless, I actually don't think there will be that much difference when it comes to the price of Bitcoin between the two candidates. Both will probably print insane amount of money. I actually tweeted about this morning, but I could even make the argument that Trump is slightly worse than Kamala Harris if he and Elon are going to pursue this Doge Department of Government Efficiency, aka Doge, and pursue austerity. Obviously, it's going to be good for the economy in the long run, but in the short term, it's going to be bad for asset prices if they decide to do that. And also, Trump talked about raising tariffs, which is very inflationary, which is, in my opinion, extremely dumb. So that would be bad. But again, we don't know if you'll actually do it. But I could make the argument that Trump is slightly worse than Kamala Harris. But that's not my base case. My base case is both will be printing money and bullish for Bitcoin specifically.
So it's really about Powell.
It's really about Powell. Yes, but Powell is. I think Powell is the puppet. Actually, Trump tried to control him. Remember,
yes, I remember.
During his term, Trump tried to control him. Trump isn't controlled by the quote unquote deep state, but the other side is. So either way, Powell is the puppet of someone else.
So Powell's going to dance no matter what. So
yeah.
So from that perspective, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
That's for Bitcoin. I think for alts, it's more nuanced because unlike Bitcoin, alts do depend on innovation, and one of the two parties is obviously more pro crypto innovation than the other.
Well, you got to split alts into two categories, right? You have alts that are just memes, and then you have alts that are
memes. But on Twitter, people have already distinguished. Like people are saying alts are not meme. coins.
Okay.
So like right now, the word alts and the word meme coins are two mutually exclusive terms, according to Twitter.
That's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the right way to do it. Okay, so macro bullish because Powell's gonna dance no matter what.
For Bitcoin, for alts.
So alts, and then you have meme coins. So BTC. Okay, so let's talk about this because this happened last cycle too, where when Bitcoin dominance goes up, everything else goes down, right? So Bitcoin goes up, and all the coins, all the shitcoins, everything goes down against Bitcoin.
This happened right before the rally to all-time high last cycle to 20,000.
Yes.
But I don't think Bitcoin going up was the reason why alts went down. Because remember, at that time, we just had DeFi summer, and the DeFi coins were extremely overvalued and euphoric.
Yeah.
I think it was more of a coincidence that Bitcoin going up while alts went down.
But this happened. Yeah, I mean, it happened for a pretty long period of time. It's like as if Bitcoin would go up and break new highs, and then alts would go down against Bitcoin. Then you'll see some of that liquidity fall back into alts, and it'll kind of pick up alts a bit. But then once Bitcoin started, chopping or consolidating, it's when we started to see altcoins go up like 10x.
Yeah.
So, do you think that we'll see that again?
I mean, my
new money flows into Bitcoin, right? So,
my hunch is this cycle is actually very different than the last one because this cycle, a lot of the inflow will come from the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF, right? And the Bitcoin ETF is not going to rotate to alts because they're stock brokerage account. They're not on chain. They're not on Coinbase. They're not on Binance. I don't think that money will necessarily rotate. So we're going to see a lot of dispersion between Bitcoin and alts. And there's probably a lot of dispersion among alts as well, meaning one sector going up doesn't mean everyone else will go up automatically. And in fact, there's probably more or decrease of correlation between the various sectors. So for example, like DePIN going up, like it's entirely plausible that DePIN as a sector go up and then gaming is flat.
Yeah.
Right. Or
NFTs
continue to bleed.
Yeah.
NFTs has been bleeding for like the last 2 years. Right? Like NFTs are down like 95% or something as a sector. Whereas I think DePIN is mostly up. Meme coins are obviously has been up a lot. Meme coins actually have been the best performing sector and probably will continue to do so in the coming year. So my point being, there's going to be a lot of dispersion. I don't think everything will go up together for these mechanical reasons.
But I do think there will be consistency over time, right? So meme coins has been consistently outperforming all of the different sectors within crypto. And I feel it's plausible to say that as Bitcoin goes up, I think meme coins will outperform every sector in crypto.
Yeah, I think you don't want to bet against the momentum. The momentum so far has been with meme coins and Bitcoin.
Okay. So, all right.
The same thing will probably continue to happen during the remainder of the cycle.
So where are we in the cycle? If I had to point in a graph,
I would say 5th to 6th inning out of 9.
Okay.
That would be my hunch.
Which would mean probably another 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, 6 to maybe 18 months, but we'll see.
All right. So you have meme coins. That's like one sector that I think that's where a lot of the retail is going. And I think, what Moonshot's doing, Moonshot hit, over 100,000 users most recently, and they're growing at an exponential rate. Jupiter just released their mobile app that is targeting retail users as well. It's funny that Moonshot went to number 71 in the finance sector.
Yeah. Ahead of Coinbase, I think.
Coinbase Wallet.
Coinbase Wallet, yeah.
And so it's becoming more and more the de facto crypto app to onboard users.
Hey, I saw a good comment this morning on Twitter. I think it was by Fiscontes. I didn't bookmark it, but the point he was making was we've already onboarded all the people, all the retail that already wanted to gamble. And so in order to onboard even more retail, gambling is not good enough anymore. Do you agree with that or not?
Gambling on shitcoins or gambling like traditional gambling?
Gambling on meme coins.
Okay, so I heard this I heard this from a retail person. One of my friends, I was talking to him. I had him download Moonshot, and he said, like a lot of my friends didn't want to use Coinbase because they didn't want to go through the whole bullshit KYC. There was just a lot of work, so they just never bought shitcoins or crypto. But what Moonshot's done is made it a lot easier for them to buy Bitcoin or sorry, to buy crypto assets. And so now they're like speculating $10, $50, $100 using Apple Pay to buy crypto. I mean, obviously there is some KYC in Moonshot, but not to the extent of Coinbase, right? And so that friction enabled more and more people to join. So I feel like, we have 100 million people on Coinbase that's using Coinbase today. That's 1/3 of the population. So that's just US. But then obviously Moonshot is a global app. So you could use the app in any other country in the world. And so I do think that's one element of an untapped market. 2 is signal. People don't know what to buy. I get hit up all the time and they always ask me, what do you think about this coin? What do you think about that coin? And so people start using DexScreener, right? Because DexScreener gives you a good idea of what's trending, what's not, and allows you to do more research. But now DexScreener has become a complete like shit show. If you look at DexScreener now, I can show it to you, but like anyone can sponsor a token ad.
Yeah.
And so like, if you look at this, here, I'll show my screen, whatever, like all of it is in like gradient color. Yeah. And when it's under a gradient font, it means that it's being sponsored. And so everyone that wants to sponsor their own shitcoin is able to get attention.
But it's the same model as Google search, right? Like above the fold on Google right now is all ads.
Yeah. Do you ever look at them?
No, but my point is Google is still fine. You just scroll down.
Dude, if you look at the top 10, like, like it's annoying. So what I do personally now is I've switched my watch list over to Defined and Moonshot.
This is a shill fest for alliance companies.
Dude, I was using DexScreener for a long time. I think the product was great.
Yeah.
And so it's not a knock on them per se, but
it's a shill for alliance companies.
Yeah, I guess we're shilling our companies.
Define and Define and Moonshot.
But like here's the thing though, my user behavior was like it's very hard for me to switch products. Like once I'm used to it, like MetaMask, I used it for such a long time. And then it came to the point where the product degraded so badly that I was forced to move over. Right. Yeah. So the same thing happened to me with DexScreener. Like I used it, like I would use it still, like even though like, I tweet about this and stuff like that, I probably still use it like 50% of the time, even to this like a couple weeks ago. But when the ads started to become so aggressive, I was forced to move over. And I wonder if others are feeling that way. Yeah. But I'm digressing here.
But the original point is you think Memecoins can onboard a lot more people still?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. I'll give you another example. So my sister-in-law, she's a trader. I mean, like I got her into crypto back in 2014. And so like she'll trade shitcoins or whatever, but it was very hard for her to do it. So she never really did it. So she would just buy like Solana. I always tell her to hold on to Solana. And then I had her download Moonshot. She was actually one of the first users of Moonshot on the Android app. She was help beta testing and giving feedback to the Moonshot team. And I thought she stopped using the app. I saw her a couple weeks ago and she's like, man, this app is so addicting. I'm like, why? She goes, I just put in like $10 and like I got these notifications. So I just bought it. I'm like, how much are you up? She's like $400. I'm like, not bad. Not bad. She goes, now I just wait for the notifications and I love the slide feature. Like it's so addicting. Like she kept saying it was addicting.
Yeah.
So I feel like we haven't really tapped this type of the market.
Yeah. Hey, what I realized is that a lot of the traders who are in the trenches, they're trading like $10 at a time.
Yeah.
Like they're not gambling their entire savings into these coins. They're just having some fun with $20.
I think there's a lot of people that are like that. Yeah. I mean, I go all in. I YOLO in. I mean, I'm not my life savings, but but yeah, you could see that. It's funny because there's a guy on Twitter. I forgot his Twitter handle. I think it's called Kashi or something. But he calls out like people's trades when they go very early. And so like he'll call out like the $10, $15 accounts that ran it up to like a couple $1,000s. And so he does this pretty often, and it's great. It's very interesting to see how people get financial freedom by just betting small amount of money. But it's also the hype effect of why people want to buy meme coins.
Yeah.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. All right, so meme coins, Bitcoin trends will probably outperform the market. Ethereum, obviously has gotten a lot of heat, specifically on value accrual, the culture, and things of that nature. Did you see how Optimism enabled fraud ZK proofs using Succinct?
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of overstepped fraud proofs and they went straight to ZK proofs, which makes it faster. So withdrawal time is now a couple minutes or something like that versus 7 days. I'm not sure exactly the time.
I think you can configure. There's some trade-off between withdrawal time and probably cost of proofs and maybe security. But it's configurable. But yeah, it's a lot faster than 7 days. It's probably hours or minutes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the obvious take is the tech doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's distribution.
It's the distribution.
Okay, so tech more or less doesn't matter, but tech coming at the right time can help improve and increase distribution.
Yeah, let me be clear. The tech obviously matters, but the way to win as a layer 2, tech is far from being sufficient, and in fact, way less important than distribution.
Yeah,
because once you have the distribution, you can pretty easily adopt the tech.
100% agreed.
Which is why I've been very tired of all these new layer 2s with minor technical differentiation. It doesn't matter. Like
it doesn't matter. Yeah. Even I've seen layer 2s for RWAs. I mean, could it work? Maybe. But at the same point, I think distribution does matter a lot. And getting at least the early mind share on your layer 2 matters most, I think. Let's talk about something else. What's outside of crypto or crypto adjacent stuff that you're excited about?
Why don't you talk about your Tesla, your Cybertruck? No?
Sure. Yeah. So I was going back and forth on buying the Cybertruck because it is very out there, and I don't like attention. Like all of my cars are like I've a certain color of a car that just blends in the background. I just don't like attention, and so this is like the exact opposite, right? Like it's really out there. And so I had the order since July. I even tweeted out like, should I pick it up? But I couldn't do it because it was just too out there. But then I started seeing Cybertrucks at least once a day now in my neighborhood. And so I felt like some of that risk was like of the attention is going away. So I felt like it was the right time to buy it. Like I'm not like the first person that gets all the attention. I'm like so I funny enough, when I drive around with that car, the kids scream at you like, I love you, Cybertruck, or they wave at the car. But this happens every day. The kids love the car.
The kids at school,
or if I'm driving down the street or wherever, the kids just are waving at the car.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting that the kids just love the car. I don't know if that's like the Minecraft effect. Because, Minecraft, everything is kind of like designed like a block, and they're seeing a part of that come into reality.
Yeah.
But I thought that was very interesting. Did you pick up? I know you wanted to pick one up. Did you end up picking one up or planning to?
Well, mine is not ready yet, so I don't know when I'll get it.
It is a great ride. You will love it. It is a great ride.
Yeah.
I don't think I could drive any other car.
I've never wanted a card, or like I've never looked at a card and say, "Fuck, I really want this." Cybertruck is the first one. I'm like, holy shit, I need this. I need to have this right now.
It is such a game changer. It's such a game changer.
But here's another data point. It's a rumor, so I can't either confirm or deny. But the rumor is one of the top 5 CEXs recently started to require that listing on the exchange that the latest VC round FTV shouldn't be greater than 30 million. FTV. It's a wild rumor, so take this with a grain of salt. If it's true, I would not be surprised.
That's
because it's in the best interest of all centralized exchanges that their users actually make money rather than lose money investing in the tokens that are listed on their exchanges. Because over time, if their users lose money, they're going to lose their users. The only reason why Binance got so big in the last few years is because most of the early investors in Binance listed tokens made money, especially in the 2017, 2018 era. There's a massive wealth effect. Because think about it, the vaporware that's currently listed on the centralized exchanges is currently a transfer of wealth from retail to insiders. And insiders include a number of groups of people, founders, VCs, exchanges, market makers.
If that's the case, I think that's a very positive impact, in my opinion. I don't know about exactly 30 million. I think it should be a little bit more flexible, dependent on the project. As long as you have the right guardrails, I think it can create a great effect for investors. It could create a great effect for founders, and then also for people that are buying into the token early. So I really do like that. So you think from a market structure perspective, exchanges need to become more strict in regards to types of tokens?
100%. Exchanges should be far more strict than they currently are. They're at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
And I think they have a responsibility towards the entire industry to make sure that the tokens they list are real products with real users, real revenue, and the initial valuation is not inflated. No one else can make this happen. It's only the person, the entity at the top of the food chain that has an opportunity to push the industry in the right direction on this front.
It all goes back to exchanges at the end of the day. All right. So going back to my initial question, 100% unlock, yes or no?
Yes, sure. Yeah, it's
ICO platform, yes or no?
compliant, yes. Because even from the founder's point of view, the venture money is extremely fungible. So aside from a handful of really good VCs who are actually able to make an impact, for the vast majority of them, the main value that they provide is the money itself. And money is extremely fungible between VCs and retail. And in fact, retail can probably, promote your project, be net promoters of your projects, and make greater impact than the VCs on that front. So from the founder's point of view, ICO platform, a compliant one, is probably a better choice than the vast majority of VCs.
I think it'll also solve two other problems that we see. I think it'll break this whole narrative cycle, because now we get to see more products being funded that doesn't fall necessarily in the narrative cycle, right? Like, I feel like right now we're in the crypto AI narrative bubble, right? So a lot of the startups that I see that are being funded are crypto AI. I'd love to see more products being funded that are completely net new that I've never seen before, right? I mean, obviously we're doing a lot of that ourselves within Alliance, but just generally, I think it could open it up. And so we'll see more riskier products being funded that could maybe do a 100x, right? In terms of growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would also enable more founders to come into the space and take risk. The whole process of fundraising is a very painful process. It takes 60, 90 days. You're away from product, and then you're just kind of like balancing the two out. So I'm not saying you need to go out and raise like a shit ton of money. I think 250K from retail is good enough to kind of get your product off the ground.
Here's another point I want to touch on. There's two very big driving forces behind the idea that startups need less and less money over time.
Ah, yes.
So I think over the next few years, startups, especially crypto startups, will need less and less money. The first driving force is AI Copilot. Every couple months, I would ask one of our founders, how do you feel about AI Copilot? How much productivity improvement have you seen by adopting AI Copilots on the engineering side? And every time I ask them, I get a bigger number. So over the last couple of years, we've gone from like 10% to somewhere between 50 to 100%. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance behind this number, but the high level trend is very clear that engineers are becoming more and more productive, especially the senior ones. The senior engineers are disproportionately affected in a positive way by AI Copilot because they used to have to write a lot of boilerplate code that either they write themselves or they have a junior engineer write for them. But now they can just have AI write the code for them.
Yep.
And the key challenge for them is then to architect the whole software. The coding itself is more and more of that is being done by AI. So as a result, startups will probably need fewer and fewer people over time. We knew this from the very early days. Like 2 years ago, we had this hypothesis, but empirically, it has been proven over the last couple of years. So that's one big driving force. The other big driving force is in crypto specifically, if you have an app that really, really works, because you're dealing with money that is free flowing on a global distributed ledger, you can make money very quickly if your app actually works. Like we saw that with Pump. $100 million of revenue, the vast majority of which is net profit after only 6 months of work.
I mean, you're seeing this with Moonshot too. They're earning like 20 to 30K a day.
You see that with every app that actually works. You can make money very quickly. You don't need outside money anymore. Like $100 million in half a year, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
So that's the second big driving force. And so it's entirely possible that, and in fact, I'm predicting this, in the next few years, startups in crypto need less and less money. The average round size is going to be less and less because they just don't need that much money. And so if you
so
back
you're
to the
saying this
ICO,
okay. So you're saying this from like consumer perspective, but not. I mean, like infra.
Infra is different, but
yeah,
the general trend is we're moving up the stack.
Yeah.
To the app layer. If we're not doing that, then there is an even bigger problem. But generally, we're moving up the stack. And going back to the previous point about ICOs, like everything is about ICOs, right? If you can get just 1,000 people, putting in like $200 each, you get $200,000, and you have a startup.
So okay, so now let's fast forward 2 years from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, because I'm also predicting this, right? Like where I think founders will just need less and less money, and they're able to make money because of crypto. So let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, we have ICO platforms. You have a very robust ICO platforms. You have exchanges that comply, as an example. Founders that need very little money to build a great company, smaller teams. How does that leave the venture market?
I think some of the later stage funds will have to return money back to LPs.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. And there will be more and more accelerators, of course.
Okay, so here's my thought process on that. I think I 100% agree. I think a lot of funds are going to give their money back. I also think that funds have to become more and more specialized to the point where founders will look at funds and see what value they can actually get. Not introductions, not just capital, right? It is what can you bring to the table that can help me build a great product
that an ICO cannot give me.
Exactly.
Which is money.
Exactly. Well, and then ICOs can also give you
the net promoters, the community.
The net promoters. So you don't need someone to write out like a 12-page tweet, right? You have net promoters. So, what I think is going to end up happening is I think like 50% of the funds are going to shut down or give money back. And the other 50% are going to become very, very specialized. And so we're starting to see some of those,
Or very early.
Yeah. And so we're starting to see that some of that now, right? Like, we've been an accelerator for like 5-6 years now, right? And we've seen, we've seen competition, but now it's becoming even more so where we're seeing VC funds that are pivoting to accelerators because, they all want to go early. We're also seeing very specialized funds, which is also, I think, a good sign. Like EV3 is a deep and focused fund, right? Which I think is the right strategy for the market. You also have Frictionless, which is their more infra technical focused fund that's focused on, that kind of area niche that no one can extract value from outside unless you're in the trenches of those areas. And so I do think funds like that will outperform.
I mean, even YC is now a AI accelerator. Like if you look at their batch, it's like 75% AI, verticalized AI. Everyone is forced to specialize.
And, and so I do think it's going to be like two sectors, right? Like, or at least it'll bring the VC down to like very specialized or very early is the way I see it, or something like that. Almost as if they have to, this is a fun joke, but like, you recruit kids from like high school or something. Yeah. This is like the fun jokes that I've
heard. The most common, one of the common accelerator pitches is the front run alliance. Literally verbatim. Our edge is the front run alliance.
Yeah. And so like, competition, I think is great because, at first I hated competition, but I've come to really like competition. I'm very competitive.
Right, you don't hate competition. I know you. You love competition. Competition gets you fired up. You need that. You need the fire.
I do.
If there's no competition, you're dead. Like you're
over.
going to be so bored.
It's so boring. Okay. There's a couple of things that they look at it from a founder perspective. Okay. One of the biggest complaints that we hear, you're not here, is like competition. Oh, well, the competition is doing this. Oh, well, the competition is doing that. Like I hate competition from an enemy perspective. I hate them, right? But from a driving force perspective, from an innovation perspective, I love them. Like without competition, like your product sucks.
You know what, Imran? You made me change my mind on one thing, which is I used to tell our founders, I used to tell myself not to care about your competition. They don't matter. Just focus on your own users. I think the truth is a lot more nuanced nowadays. Now that I've seen you over the last few years, how you react to competition, I'm like, actually, obsessing over competition is not that bad. Like, if the competition gives you the drive, the motivation to work harder, to kill them, to crush them, great. I love it.
Which is what we intend to do. And then our founders going to do the same thing, which is why like the apps that I use, like the founders that come out of our program, for some reason, I take on their competitors too.
You do. You do that a lot.
I try not to do that because it's their competition. I shouldn't worry about it, but I take it personally.
You do.
So like I have this beef with DexScreener as an example. Because at the end of the day, like our founders are partly our DNA. And so when every founder that comes out of our program, it's like our child. And so we have to protect our kids is the way I see it. All right. What shitcoin are you going to buy? There's SPX 6900. There's Giga, Popcat. I know we're obviously bullish Popcat.
I'm fully deployed. I don't want to buy anything new.
But if you were to buy something new today, I'm fully deployed too. But if you were to buy something new, what would you buy?
I mean, my trading side pocket, my shitcoin side pocket is Tau and Popcat, and I'm very happy with this portfolio. I think it's going to crush every single liquid fund in crypto. I don't want to take any more risk. We're at the point of the cycle. We're in the 5th or 6th inning of the cycle. I don't want to increase risk. I'm very happy with Tau plus Popcat. What would you buy?
I haven't bought Tau just because
you got to channel your inner retard.
No, I did. So I have. I bought. Well, you'll see what I'm about to say. Well, I know, like I just. I 100% agree with the thesis of AI, and like Tau is like the perfect AI meme. Now, when it comes to like actual product, I don't know, but it's a perfect wedge, or it's a perfect exposure to the market. I'd say for me, it's SPX 6900.
Did you see the chart? I don't know how to buy that.
Yeah, it's too late now. I feel like. But no, you know what? It's never too late. Sorry, Giga.
Famous last words.
As in market tops.
The market has pumped.
Yeah.
The coin has pumped.
Crypto has topped. I'd say Giga, SPX are two that I like.
But you're just copy trading Murad.
Yeah, you go with where the community has consensus. Why fight against it?
Yeah.
Is the way I see it. I mean, I obviously have some other smaller shitters, but like, I'd say SPX and Giga are my favorite ones. For NFTs, I'd say I only have exposure to one, and that's Retardios.
Return to God.
Return to God. Someone said that on my tweet when I put it out there.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Hey, you want to know my stock portfolio?
Yeah.
So my stock portfolio is so this is what I would buy if you didn't own any stocks today. My highest conviction: Meta, TSM, Nvidia, PDD.
PDD. I bought PDD when you told me to buy PDD.
Is it up or down since you bought it?
I think it's up. Yeah. Well, it was when you and I were chatting about the market and how China is. Yeah, so it's up. So PDD and PDD, Coinbase, and Nvidia.
PDD, Coinbase, and Nvidia. Yeah, Coinbase doesn't count. Coinbase is crypto. It's not a stock. I'm also long copper. The thesis behind copper is a combination of electric cars.
Oh yeah.
And AI data centers and money printing. Money printing is very good for commodities.
Nice. Good.
But yeah, you don't sound excited about stocks. Just want to go back to the trenches and.
No, I mean, like I have my exposures, but there's more storytelling on the meme side. Okay, so like Nvidia, people talked about how it topped, what I think is just local structure, but what are some of the things that you're looking at on the Nvidia side? And we talked a bit about this, Peter Thiel on his All In pod.
Yeah.
He talked about how Nvidia is the only real startup in AI. Everything else is just a, commoditized business.
Nvidia for me is not a 10-year hold. I think Nvidia, I'm comfortable for the next year or two. I think people are just still going to need more and more chips. But Nvidia is facing so much competition from everywhere. I think we already talked about this. The competition will take more than a year or two to really, really threaten Nvidia. But I think it'll happen.
I think so too. Yeah. I think you shared some tweets of some really high quality startups that are building competitors to Nvidia.
Yeah.
And in fact, even I think Google is thinking about building their own.
Google already built their TPUs.
Oh, they already built their own.
They've been building TPUs for years, and they're using Broadcom as their chip designer. That's why Broadcom has been doing really well as a stock.
Didn't someone else just sign a deal with Broadcom? There's another large company that just did a deal with Broadcom. I forgot who it was.
Oh, I wanted to talk about O1 Preview.
O1 Preview, yes.
O1 Preview.
Yes. I've been using it.
How do you feel? How do you feel about it?
Very good.
What do you use it for?
Research and just learning a topic.
Yeah,
is typically when I use it.
Yeah,
and it's pretty good to it's a pretty good conversational flow. I feel like I'm talking to someone.
You feel like you're talking to a junior analyst.
Yeah.
So I use O1 Preview for a couple of startups that we're thinking about investing, and I use it to do market research. So I would ask it what is the market size? And it'll start doing some reasoning, break it down, break the market into segments, and then do some reasoning about each segment. It's pretty good. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's way better than the previous version of ChatGPT. The previous version was a pure, you can feel it's a pure pattern matching. You're just pattern matching the text. But O1 Preview, you feel there's some reasoning there. And I think it's going to get really, really good in the next year or two. So I've been using that. I've been using O1 Preview as a junior venture analyst.
It's pretty scary, right? If you think about it, even you talked about how startups will need less and less manpower to build
engineers, specifically.
Engineers, research, manpower, whatever. But you could also say that for
investors.
Investors.
Yeah, for sure.
You could have a very high proficient investing team without having to hire junior analysts.
Same thing with we chat internally with our legal counsel, but same thing happens with lawyers, legal firms.
Yeah.
The paralegals and the junior lawyers.
I'm very curious on how this dynamic is going to change the entire, kind of the venture startup space.
Yeah.
A lot of the reason why venture firms, the large ones, raise so much money is so that they can hire resources for founders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you oftentimes see, there's two different models that I've seen. I don't want to call out names, maybe I will, but A16Z, right? They have an incredible lineup of investors, analysts, but then they also have people for marketing. They have people for hiring talent. They have people for, just different aspects of a startup's business that they need help with. And so if someone needs hiring support, A16Z offers that as an example. Engineering support, they have that. Now, Paradigm is more they're very technical team, right? So it's very interesting to see they have maybe 5 to 10 engineers on their team. They also have hiring support, legal support, and all this other support. And both of these funds have raised over $500 million to $1 billion. And they do that specifically so that they can hire these resources so that they can get the best deal flow, as an example. But then that also changes up the dynamics of how they invest, because they can't just put $1 million check into a startup. They have to put $3 to $5 million or $10 million to a certain point. So it really changes the dynamics of the startup valuation as well, which is kind of what we're seeing in the markets today. Now with AI, it collapses the time for how much money a startup needs, but it also collapses the resources that they provide to founders, because a lot of the support they don't need anymore because that's already been given to them via AI. So do you see the same dynamics as I do? And do you feel like that's going to also change, how VCs offer support to founders going to change as well?
I don't see it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if something big happens over the next few years. Like the pace of change is so incredible. Like you can feel it. Every few months, you feel a change. You feel an improvement in the AI agents that you use.
Yeah.
I was listening to Lex Friedman and the 4 founding members of
OpenAI?
no, the coding tool. What's it called again? Cursor. That's right.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the 4 founding members of Cursor. It was a very technical discussion, but for those who are technical and are interested in how fast and what the coding copilots do under the hood, it's a very good one.
Do you want to talk about it?
It's very technical.
But like, what's the high level?
The gist is the pace of improvement is so incredible. They use a combination of several foundational models under the hood. So they use like ChatGPT, or it's not GPT, Anthropic, and a few others. Like they combine different models. And they said that, I'm paraphrasing, but every few months, like one model would outpace all the others in one area. Like no one is strictly better than everyone else in one area. Like at any point in time, one of them is better than others in one particular area. But like a few months later,
The
other model outpaces the current leader. It's a race to the bottom.
What are the 3 dominant models? GPT, Llama.
Okay, so here's the other thing they mentioned.
Uh-huh.
You can objectively measure the models using those benchmarks. Like there's like benchmarks for measuring AI models in different areas, like in math or coding or whatever. But these benchmarks are, from what they've seen, is quite superficial. Like when you actually implement the models in a real product, like Cursor, you can tell that the benchmarks are not good enough. Like they don't tell the real story. For example, like GPT might be leading in one of the areas, call it like, for argument's sake, in math. But when you actually build let's say a math tutor, AI tutor in math, as a product builder, you can feel that, in fact, OpenAI is not the leading one. So the benchmarks are kind of misleading according to those guys. Which, by the way, like it's not surprising. Like in crypto, like you have these TPS benchmarks, but they don't translate to production numbers, right? Like everyone says they have the best TPS, but when you look at the data in production, it doesn't match what they say.
I feel as if like, you and I, we've talked about this. We feel like it's subtle change, right? And whenever AI models get improved, like O1 preview, etc. But I do feel as if like it is causing, it's like chipping away at something very big, right? And over time, like I'd say a year to 2 years, the change will be very dramatic from what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like from like a day-to-day, month-to-month perspective, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of improvement happening, right? So
right.
I feel as if like in a year, 2 years, everyone's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's what we're going to go through. And we're going to see entire industries cut in half.
Yeah.
One signal that I saw recently was, I'm not sure if this is related to it, but like a pretty large venture fund, in a general fund in New York, I forgot what the name was, very well known, like top 5, ended up returning back $300 million back to their LPs.
I remember that.
They can't invest their money. They can't invest the money anymore. I do think, a lot of these industries are there's just too much money, too much people, and it needs to go. Just the way I see it. I feel like we haven't really cleaned out the ZERP environment. And I mean, we did some of it, like the froth, but really the deep level stuff hasn't happened yet. Between that and the AI, like boom, it's going to get pretty wacky out there is the way I see it.
When you drive your Tesla, your Cybertruck, Cybertruck doesn't have FSD.
It does.
It does?
Yeah.
It does not? Okay.
It does. Last update did.
Okay.
So
do you need to do anything? Do you need to control anything from start to finish?
Like if I do full self-driving car, no. Driving mode, I don't have to. Okay. But I'm also like, the AI is improving over time. So before, I've had a Tesla since 2018, so like I could kind of tell you how it all went down. But before it was just like lane assist, right? And then it went from that to like self-driving in certain areas to like fully self-driving where you put in the address and it'll take you there. The problem that I've had before this like last 2 updates was the fact that it drives just very slow. And so like I get impatient, and if I see space ahead of me, I want to tail the guy pretty much. It's the way I drive. And so the latest update, they've updated it, the software to doing like something like, it's called progressive full self-driving car or whatever, will drive more like a human driver. So it'll speed up, like cut people off, and and so it's starting to become more human-like also.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the next like 5, 10 or whatever, like next year, I'd say it'll become progressively like a human driver. Right now, it's more of a grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very slow. It takes me there, but like I don't have the patience. But I think as it becomes more of a human-like driver, I think I will fully adapt and use it.
Yeah.
And I think that also aligns with robotaxis, which is a software update that Elon's been talking about, which would enable the cars to put on robotaxi mode, where whenever your car is parked, it can go out and do Uber rides back and forth. So that is coming. He's talked about it, which I thought was also interesting. The other topic I want to touch on is like robots. We've seen a lot of startups in crypto that are raising money to build robot models,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
By using your phone, glasses, or whatever to record day-to-day activity for these models so they could train robots to doing these day-to-day tasks. So we've seen some crypto startups that are going to use like DeepIn as a way to build these models out. But putting that to the side, Elon already talked about selling robots $30,000 to $40,000 a price range, and they're supposed to come out in a year or two. I've seen maybe 6 other startups that are also building these out.
So when Elon says, no, he said 2 years. I'm pretty sure he said longer than that. Like actual robots, like the what's the name?
Robot
Optimus, right?
Optimus, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he said I don't recall the exact number. It's longer than 2 years. And I was like, yeah, actually, it's probably even twice as much as whatever the number Elon says is times 2.
It's always Cybertruck. He said 2 years ago. He said within the year, and it happened in 2 years. So
yeah,
his time is getting better. But what I've also realized is, I think now that manufacture has improved over time, the rate of scale of building a product and taking out to the market is becoming quicker for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think adding maybe an additional 50% of time is probably the right way to think about when these robots will come out.
Mm-hmm.
So if he says 2 years, it's 4 years.
I remember he made a back of napkin calculation on the size of the market.
Yes.
For Optimus. That was I think that was on an earnings call. But basically the back of napkin calculation is, if you have a helper at home, you take their minimum salary per hour and you do some reasonable math on how many hours per year they're going to spend at your house doing work. And you multiply that by the number of households around the world. That will give you I think approximately, I can't remember the exact number, but it's like $1 trillion to $10 trillion market cap. Not market cap, I think annual revenue. So it was an absurd number.
Well, you gotta Murad this thing, right? Like,
That's right.
I mean, that's how you sell the dream, and then the stock price, right?
Yeah. I really want to buy Tesla, the stock, but it's very hard to buy it at the current valuation. I think it'll take years to really digest the valuation.
That's fair. So they said that it's already entered low production in 2025, or it will enter low production in 2025, and it will be widespread available in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So probably 2026, 2027 is where we would see these robots. Here's another interesting note. In India, as an example, it's very common to have 2 to 3 helpers.
Mm-hmm.
Maids, you want to call it, or whatever. And so people believe that life is harder in India, but it's actually the opposite. Life is actually harder here for Indians. I'm not sure if that's true for people in China, but it's very hard to live here. And in fact, like, they prefer to go back home because over there, you don't have to lift a finger because you have so much, the poverty level is so dramatic such that, you could get, you could hire people for very, very cheap, like $50 a month. Something crazy like that.
I was doing research on Singapore, and they can hire helpers for like less than $1,000 per month per helper in Singapore. The same helper in the US where I live, I have a helper at home, by the way, and we're paying the helper like $3,000 a month. So 3 times the price of what you would get in Singapore. And mind you, Singapore, the average cost of living in Singapore is way higher than where I live.
High.
But the helper is way cheaper there.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, just going back, like it's actually harder for Indians to live in the US, and they just mostly complain and talk about how hard life is in America because you got to do everything yourself because everything is so expensive here from a perspective. So going on that note, I do think Optimus and robots will probably make a very big impact in the US, is the way I see it.
Mm. That's a good distinction.
So I do think there's a very big market for it. Now, in India, probably not. Like emerging markets probably won't work, but I think at least in the US and the Anglo countries it will.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I think we'll end it here and then we'll come back in a week or two to discuss whatever's trending next.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
As always, the views expressed in the Good Game podcast are personal to the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any other person or entity. Nothing here should be construed or relied upon as investment, legal, tax, or other advice.
Thanks for listening to Good Game. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week.